Man, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? It's been a long time.
Being a long time, man. I was missing in action. What
Indeed.
about you?
Ah, it's
How's
been
everything?
it's been awesome. I've been doing a lot of things lately. I put out a video recently, and some of the subscribers have been asking me about you, and they are looking forward to seeing you back in a video. So we have a wonderful video today. So can you please let us know the reason why you are here and the topic of today's video?
Well, before that, I wanna thank you and say that I feel like I'm the main character of a movie. I feel like this guy, I can't recall his name from the Walking Dead. I passed out, and when I came to, man, it was freaking crazy. Okay, the main purpose of this video is because there are millions of people around the world who actually claim this whole pandemic event is a ruse. Is a ruse, man. So I want to talk about it. At the same time, I would like to teach you. Well, you're the teacher here. I'm just gonna be here in order to learn a little more about this kind of vocabulary. But we're going to discuss all the important vocabulary regarding this pandemic event, and we're gonna talk about this so-called ruse or this so-called pandemic. What do you think about it? There are literally millions of people around the world who actually think, man, that this is fake, that this is a ruse.
No doubt. I mean, most people are now stating that it was made up by most governments, mostly by those governments from, the big countries. I don't want to mention them, but the countries that do rule the world. And now some information was put out uh, stating that some of those things that happened back in early December and January over there in the east part of the world, I mean, it was made on purpose. It was caused on purpose to calm some protesters that were disrupting some cities. And anyway, I don't even want to touch on so many points about it. The reason why we are here is because we want to teach you guys some vocabulary. And even native English speakers, we're not used to hearing or even saying some words that we recently learned throughout this pandemic event. We were not used to seeing anything like this. And as time goes by, we always have new words in English and also in every single language. As you already know, new words keep coming up and dictionaries keep adding new words, and this was not the exception. New words came up out of nowhere, and I'm saying out of nowhere because we were not expecting this, and even the language was impacted positively. Why? Because we have more words, more vocabulary to add into our repertoire.
That,
So,
that that's a good point, and that raises the first question here because what would you say if you tested positive, or you come up positive, or you come over positive? What would you use in that specific case?
I mean,
Let's
there is a variety of vocabulary. I'm not going to say I can only say test positive or come over positive or come up positive. My point is that there is a world of possibilities. I can say I tested positive, I came up positive, I came over positive, and even some people say I came back positive. So there are some phrasal verbs to say that, and also a verb, which is to test positive or to test negative. So a lot of expressions to say one single thing. What would you say? Like, what is the most um, or the most appropriate expression to your own ears? Which one would you use?
Well, in my specific case, I would use the word test and adding the word positive or negative. But this is kind of curious because last time I was reading a post and there were a lot of native speakers. This is something I didn't know.
Mhm.
Little did I know about this, man.
I told you guys about that. Little did I
Yeah,
know. You remember
little
that?
did, I, little did I know about this. They were saying they test positive or they test negative, and they didn't use the verb in the past tense. They only say they test positive or they test negative. So that was kind of overwhelming and kind of new for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's in some cases it's normal because we already know that some native English speakers make mistakes and they sometimes, they don't respect the rules. But again, like I was saying, in some cases the language evolves or changes. So who knows that at some point the verb to test might become like the verb to set, which doesn't have a past tense, like it remains the same way in the three tenses. Who knows? I'm not anyone to say that that's gonna happen, but who knows, that might happen. And again, I'm going to reiterate my point. The language keeps changing every single day, and that's something
Yes,
interesting, right?
so, of course. And I actually read this in an official post. So I think it was on the WHO website, I guess, the WHO website, and I read that they said test positive or test negative. So it was something that it was now a slang or something like that. Kind of interesting.
That's
Okay,
extreme.
Emma. Now that our countries have been shut down, what other words or vocabulary would you use in that specific case?
That's interesting again. And I'm using the word interesting because I've noticed that people use different expressions. And I've been talking to a lot of native English speakers about it lately. And I've noticed that they have been using like to shut down, to lock down, to close down. And this is interesting. I'm going to let you know why I'm saying it is interesting again or remarkable. Because at first, let's say some months ago or some years ago, I used to think that the verb to close down was that directly associated to like closing a business because it went bankrupt, because it was not able to continue operating. That was the meaning that I thought of the verb to close down. However, since this pandemic came on and stuff like that, I noticed that native English speakers started saying close down, but in a different sense, in a different connotation. And I started, like wondering the meaning of it. And I even asked a native English speaker about it. And you know what that person told me? He was like, hey, I used to think the same meaning. Like I thought it was only associated to closing a business. However, people started using that expression or that phrasal verb in a different sense. And I was like, hey, that is true. Like the language is changing. So again, just to repeat, we have shut down, lock down, and close down. However,
So,
in my
so close down, it would be like isolated.
correct, correct. You can say the city was locked down. It means isolated.
Mhm.
Shut down means like to close completely. You can say the country was shut down. It means that the borders, let's say air borders and land borders, are completely closed. Nobody is allowed to leave the country or enter the country. And then close down is like, yeah, to close completely. Let's say a city or a country or a continent, etc. So, which do you think sounds better or more appropriate?
Mm, they all are good options. I would go for shut down in that specific case, but close down is pretty fitable for this occasion. So all of them are good options here.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, just to mention something is that to shut down also means to close a business, but not necessarily because it went bankrupt. Let's say that the government imposed a restriction and businesses are not able to operate for a period of time. So the owners or the merchants have to close their business. And in that specific case, you can say to shut down a business. Let's say you have a store or any type of shop, so you can shut it down, and that means to close it.
Okay.
So
And
yeah, moving on, we can mention other expressions such as optic. I don't know if you have ever heard about that expression, like
yeah,
when
because
there is a
apparently they were flattened the curve, but right now I really think that they are in a spike or they up.
correct, because cases are increasing like in a
Mm,
crazy way. Like they're unable to flatten the curve and cases are not going down. So uptick means to go up or to increase, like increasingly, or
cruising.
to spike. Actually, that expression is interesting. Like spike. Spike is used in economics. Like when there is a spike, let's say, for example, in trading or when we talk about shares and we talk about incomes and when we talk about anything related to economics, we can say spike. However, since we are experiencing or facing this pandemic, we can also say there is a spike in cases. It means
Mm,
that there is an increase in cases.
well, really helpful vocabulary here. And
Absolutely.
I would like to bring back one term that I used at the beginning of the video, ruse. Ruse, for those of you who don't know this word, is like a hose. Could you use another word to express the saying? Ruse, hose,
Um, Let me see. When something is fake, I could
or
say yeah,
something.
fake, counterfeited. When something is a lie, when something is I'm unable to come up with more words, but I'm sure that there are more words like mostly hoax, lie, fake, counterfeited. When something is made up,
Something is made up.
yeah, I would
There
say made.
are
I actually
there
like that.
are there are accusations here that apparently they are feeding or they are inflating the numbers of the death toll. What do you think about it?
Oh, now that you mentioned that, there are two expressions or two verbs that we can use in that case when they are inflating the numbers or they are increasing the numbers on purpose. We can say to pad numbers, PAD, to pad numbers, and also
Okay.
to skew numbers when they are inflating the numbers. So to answer your question, I would say yes, in some cases they are definitely doing that on purpose because apparently they wanted to reset the economy or to default the economy. And
Yeah.
that is the new world order that most people are now talking about. I don't want to dive deep into that, but yeah, it has to do
Yeah,
with that.
that is something that has to do with the conspiracy stuff. So
But yes,
here we
so
are learning
we're
vocabulary.
mainly focused on teaching vocabulary, but yes.
Man, something that really caught my attention was the fact that the OMS apparently they are adding new symptoms to this COVID-19. Could you tell me some of the symptoms of this COVID-19? So we're
Yes,
gonna.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Like how they are talking about loss of a smell, like headache, fever, runny nose, cough, maybe drowsiness or body pain, pain, like muscle pain, and etc. Like, can you mention others that I didn't mention?
Well, there is there is one that is kind of funny, man. Um, I was reading this article, and they were claiming that they are really worried about when you are farting. When you fart, apparently,
Are you for real, man?
that was kind of funny, man. So you have to be careful with farts, okay? And um, if you don't have any symptom, that is also a symptom that you have COVID-19
Oh,
because
so
you
you
are
careful.
symptomatic, man.
I didn't know that actually.
Oh
That's
man.
hilarious.
So that would be all for today. Unless you have something new to add or something that you want to discuss.
No, I think that should be it. And guys, if you have any questions regarding the vocabulary that we talked about throughout the video, please let us know in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or clear up any concerns that you might have. So hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time. Goodbye.
See you later.